You've probably heard someone say, "I'm an introvert," or "I'm more of a feeling type." Maybe you've taken a personality test. Maybe you've even typed yourself as INTJ, ENFP, or something else entirely. But do you know where those letters come from? Not a tech company, not a pop psychologist. They come from Carl Gustav Jung, who didn't just theorize about personality. He mapped its architecture. In 1921, Jung published a monumental book titled Psychological Types. In it, he proposed something radical for his time, that people don't all think the same way. We have different orientations of energy, and we use different psychological functions to navigate the world. And this isn't superficial. It shapes how we see, judge, feel, and even dream. But Jung's model goes far deeper than the simplified test results you see online. He wasn't trying to box people in. He was trying to help them individuate, to understand their own unique way of relating to life, and to uncover the hidden patterns of their mind. He began with a fundamental distinction: introversion and extroversion. Not just social preferences, but basic orientations of energy. The introvert draws inward toward reflection. The extrovert moves outward toward action and experience. But that was only the first layer. He then identified 4 essential functions of consciousness: thinking and feeling, which judge and evaluate; sensation and intuition, which perceive and gather. Each of us, Jung believed, leads with one of these 4 functions, but the others are still present, even if they're repressed, unconscious, or undeveloped. The key to growth, he argued, is to learn how to balance and integrate them, to move from one-sidedness to wholeness. In this video, we'll break down Jung's original theory, not the pop psych version, but the deep psychological blueprint of personality types that still shapes everything from therapy to corporate hiring to spiritual development. We'll explore what it really means to be an introvert or an extrovert, how your dominant function shapes your reality, and why your inferior function might just be the key to your soul. This isn't about personality labels. This is about understanding the architecture of your own psyche and learning to work with it, not against it. Carl Jung's theory of psychological types begins with a deceptively simple idea: people differ, not just in opinions or preferences, but in their fundamental orientation toward life. He noticed that in therapy, some patients were inwardly focused, sensitive to inner thoughts and feelings. Others were more outwardly oriented, concerned with external facts and social dynamics. This wasn't just mood, it was structure. Energy itself flowed differently through them. From this observation, Jung introduced the idea of attitude types: the extrovert, whose psychological energy flows outward toward objects, people, and the external world. The introvert, whose energy flows inward, toward ideas, impressions, and subjective meaning. This wasn't about being shy or outgoing. Extroverts tend to draw strength from engaging with the world, while introverts need solitude to recharge and make sense of experience. An extrovert thinker might excel at managing systems or debating policy. An introverted thinker might ponder deeply in solitude, developing a philosophy no one else sees yet. But this was only the foundation. The next layer is the functions of consciousness. Jung proposed 4 of them, divided into 2 categories. 1. Judging functions, how we make decisions. Thinking, logical, analytical, detached. Thinking types evaluate based on truth, principles, and consistency. Feeling, relational, value-driven, empathetic. Feeling types evaluate based on harmony, ethics, and emotional impact. 2. Perceiving functions, how we take in information. Sensation, focused on the concrete, present, and real. Sensation types rely on their 5 senses, preferring the tangible and detailed. Intuition, oriented toward patterns, possibilities, and the unseen. Intuitive types are drawn to symbols, meaning, and future potential. Each person, Jung said, has a dominant function, the one we use most naturally and unconsciously. One of the others becomes an auxiliary, supporting the dominant and helping us function in the world. A third is usually less developed, And the fourth, the inferior function, is deeply unconscious, often emerging in dreams, projections, or moments of crisis. So imagine someone who is an introverted intuitive type. Their dominant mode is inward symbolic perception. They see connections others miss. But their inferior function might be extrovert sensation, meaning they struggle to stay grounded in the present, or resist dealing with mundane physical realities. This imbalance can lead to one-sidedness, and ultimately neurosis. That's why Jung believed the path of psychological growth is individuation, the process of integrating the lesser-used functions into consciousness, creating a more balanced and whole personality. Let's briefly look at all 8 types, each a combination of attitude and dominant function. Small blue diamond 1. Extrovert thinking, efficient, organized, fact-based, focused on external systems and logic, can become rigid or overly controlling. Small blue diamond 2. Introverted thinking, abstract, reflective, conceptual, creates internal systems of thought, may seem aloof or disconnected from practicalities. Small blue diamond 3. Extrovert feeling, warm, tactful, socially attuned, prioritizes harmony and values of the group, can lose touch with personal needs. Small blue diamond 4. Introverted feeling, deep, authentic, principled, feels intensely but often silently, may struggle to express emotions outwardly. Small blue diamond 5. Extrovert sensation, sensual, spontaneous, observant, lives fully in the now, may avoid deeper reflection, or become indulgent. Small blue diamond 6. Introverted sensation, precise, nostalgic, impressionistic, experiences the world through a filter of inner sensory memory, can become stuck in the past. Small blue diamond 7. Extrovert intuition, visionary, curious, restless, sees patterns and possibilities in the external world, can be scattered or ungrounded. Small blue diamond 8. Introverted intuition, insightful, mystical, symbolic, accesses archetypes, dreams, and inner guidance, may seem disconnected from reality. Most people don't function purely as one type, but we all have a type pattern, a dominant mode of being that shapes how we relate to the world and ourselves. Jung emphasized, no type is better than another. Problems arise not from your type, but from refusing to develop the rest of your psyche. Over-identification with one function leads to imbalance. For example, an extrovert thinker who denies feeling may become emotionally tone-deaf or unknowingly cruel. An introverted feeler who rejects logic may lose themselves in subjective isolation. In psychological types, Jung dives deep into how these differences shape religion, philosophy, and even historical conflict. He compares thinkers like Kant and Schopenhauer, artists like Goethe and Spitaler, not to judge, but to show that different types produce different worldviews. And yet, what mattered most to Jung wasn't categorization, it was transformation. Your dominant function may be easy, natural, the unconscious would offer symbols and figures representing the functions you've ignored. If you listened, you would grow. If you resisted, those same figures might haunt you. He writes, the psychological types are nothing but the different orientations of consciousness in the individual. No one orientation is sufficient. Wholeness comes from learning to access and integrate the rest. So Jung's types aren't a box, they're a map. A way to see where you are strong, where you are stuck, and where you are called to evolve. Carl Jung never wanted to label people. He wanted to liberate them. His theory of types wasn't meant to reduce us to categories, but to give us a mirror, one that could help us see both our strengths and our blind spots. Not to say, this is who you are, but to ask, are you ready to become more? Because in Jung's view, the goal is not to be a perfect type. The goal is individuation, the journey toward becoming a whole, integrated person. And that means facing the parts of yourself you've ignored, rejected, or never learned how to use. Your dominant function may be easy, natural, effortless. But what about your opposite? The part of you that's clumsy, awkward, even embarrassing? That's where the gold is. Jung believed that growth happens not in comfort zones, but in the spaces where we feel lost. When a thinker learns to feel, when an intuitive learns to sense, when an introvert learns to speak, and an extrovert learns to listen, he wrote, we should not pretend to understand the world only by the intellect. We apprehend it just as much by feeling. Therefore, the judgment of the intellect is only part of the truth. So let this video be more than an explanation. Let it be an invitation. Look at your life, your patterns, your relationships. Where are you overdeveloped? Where are you one-sided? And what would it mean to stretch into the unknown, to strengthen the weaker muscles of your soul? Because your type is not your fate. It is your starting point. And from there the work begins, not to become someone else, but to become whole.